How drug lord Pablo Escobar spent his billions. Pablo Escobar, the infamous Colombian drug lord, known as the King of Cocaine. Escobar's wealth reached an estimated $30 billion at the height of his power in the 1980s. Escobar wasn't just notorious for his ruthless grip on the cocaine trade. He was also legendary for his extravagant spending habits. We're talking billions of dollars here, folks. And let's just say Escobar knew how to live large, even if it was all built on a foundation of crime. So, let's dive right in. From humble beginnings to kingpin riches. Before we get to the Bentleys and the private zoos, let's rewind a bit. Escobar wasn't born with a silver spoon. He grew up poor in Medellin, Colombia, and started small time with petty theft. But Escobar was ambitious. He saw the booming cocaine trade and seized his opportunity. By the 1980s, his Medellin cartel controlled a massive chunk of the cocaine flowing into the United States. We're talking about millions, no, billions of dollars flooding his pockets every week. Now imagine having that kind of money. That's the reality that Escobar woke up to every day. The question is, how do you spend an endless amount of ill-gotten gains? Building a narco empire. To start things off, Escobar craved power and status. He invested heavily in his hometown of Medellin, building lavish housing projects and even a zoo filled with exotic animals. He cultivated a Robin Hood image, showering the poor with cash while simultaneously terrorizing anyone who dared oppose him. Escobar funded the construction of housing projects, sports facilities, and public parks. He built entire neighborhoods, providing homes for the homeless and impoverished. One of his most famous projects was the construction of 450 houses in the Medellin barrio, which became known as Barrio Pablo Escobar. These acts of charity endeared him to many residents, creating a loyal support base that often protected him from law enforcement. Zoos. Don Pablo also had a taste for the finer things. He amassed a collection of expensive artwork from renowned artists like Salvador Dali. Owning a piece of history wasn't just about aesthetics for Escobar. It was another way to flaunt his wealth and power. And let's not forget the animals. Hacienda Naples, his most famous estate, was basically a private zoo. Rhinos, hippos, giraffes, you name the exotic animal, and Escobar probably had it roaming his grounds. It was one of his most famous hideouts. A sprawling estate in Antigua, Colombia, covering around 7,000 acres, with a private airport, a bullfighting ring, and you guessed it, even more exotic animals. It was a bizarre and ostentatious display of wealth, a personal menagerie for a drug lord with more money than sense. Security was another major expense. Escobar lived a paranoid life, constantly on the run from authorities and rival cartels. He built himself a network of hideouts, complete with secret passages and armed guards. Cars and planes. But Escobar wasn't just about fortresses and firepower. He loved the finer things in life. He owned a fleet of luxury cars, including Porsches and Ferraris. Private jets were his preferred mode of transportation. He had a collection of expensive art and a seemingly bottomless appetite for throwing extravagant parties. His garage boasted a collection of luxury cars that would make any gearhead drool. We're talking classics like the Porsche 356As and Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwings. He even owned a rare 1974 Porsche 911 IROC RSR, a car with a racing pedigree that would fetch millions today. But Escobar wasn't one for traffic jams. He preferred to travel in style, and that meant private jets. He owned a fleet of them, allowing him to jet set across South America and beyond at a moment's notice. A high life with a high price tag. And the parties. Escobar reportedly threw some of the most extravagant bashes Colombia has ever seen. We're talking live music, mountains of food, and enough champagne to fill a swimming pool. No expense was spared when it came to entertaining his guests. Speaking of extravagance, let's not forget his real estate portfolio. Escobar owned multiple mansions, each more opulent than the last. Think swimming pools, with swim-up bars, private movie theaters, and even rooms filled with gold-plated furniture. He wasn't just living large. He was living in a world most of us can only dream of. Legend has it Escobar once burned a stack of $2 million in cash just to keep his daughter warm. Now that's some next-level extravagance, even for a billionaire drug lord. The trouble with excess. Here's the thing about all this spending. It's a logistical nightmare. Escobar's wealth was mostly in cash, and storing and laundering that much money is a huge challenge. According to his brother, Escobar reportedly lost around 10% of his fortune every year, literally eaten by rats, destroyed by the elements, or simply lost. Plus, Escobar's ostentatious lifestyle attracted unwanted attention. The Colombian government and the US were hot on his trail, and his lavish spending made him an easy target. The fall of a kingpin. In 1993, after years on the run, Escobar was finally killed by Colombian authorities. His legacy? A trail of violence and bloodshed, but also a cautionary tale of how unchecked wealth and a life of crime can ultimately lead to downfall. Even today, stories about Escobar's hidden stashes of cash still pop up. Some of his properties, like the Hacienda Napoles, are now tourist attractions, but the true cost of Escobar's wealth was enormous. Thousands of lives were lost in the drug wars he fueled. What happened to all the billions? The truth is, Escobar's extravagant lifestyle wasn't just about enjoying himself. It was also a way to project power and influence. He wanted the world to know he was a force to be reckoned with, a man with more money than anyone could imagine. But, in the end, all this wealth couldn't save him. His extravagant spending made him a target, and his reign of terror eventually came to a bloody end. That's a closer look at how Pablo Escobar spent his drug money. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for videos like this. Let us know in the comments below what other extravagant spenders you would like us to cover.